Good morning, and today we will be comparing fractions. We're going to be using the fraction rule to help us, and also hopefully some of you will be using your multiplication tables also to solve the problems. So let's look at the first problem then. Discover page, Richard. Richard says the top turtle has crawled 1/3 of the distance to the sea. So shall we see if he's right? This is my top turtle, there he is. And he's crawled 1/3. That would be 1/3. If he'd have gone to there, it would have been 2/3. And if he'd have gone all the way, the whole thing, it would have been 3/3. Bella says the bottom turtle has crawled a smaller distance than the top turtle. So this is the bottom turtle, and we can see that is actually crawled to there. So we know it's a less than, don't we? But how much less is it? How much? Where does it stop? Which line does it stop at? So today we are going to fill in the inequality statement. So an equality statement, remember, means more than, less than, or the same as. So let's have a look at my top turtle. We know is crawled 1/3. What's this one crawled? Can you see? Did I get it right? 1/4. If I look at my two sheets of paper, which are identical inside, the first one I have made into thirds, like it says on here. So that's what my thirds look like. They're equal apart, so I fraction them into thirds. So number 1, number 2, number 3. The whole thing would be 1, but I've made them into thirds. The other sheet of paper, which started the same size, I have folded into quarters, into 4 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. And although number 4 is larger, it's bigger than 3, we can see if I fold them back into their fractions, we can see, can't we, that the quarter, although number 4 is bigger, is actually smaller than the third. That would actually be like what's on my fraction rule. So, which is smaller, which is larger? What sign would go there? So I'm looking at the third. Do you think it's greater than or smaller than? What do you think? Yeah, it's greater than that. It's bigger, it's larger than that. And if we look here, we can see that the third goes to there, but the quarter only goes to there. So we've got to remember not to look at these as large numbers or anything. We're looking at them as fractions. So let's look what Richard says now. Richard writes another inequality statement. So now he's looking at 2/3 and he wants to find an answer. Remember, the 2/3 now has got to be smaller than this. This has got to be greater than. Can we see how that sign's changed? It's not like this one now. We're looking at this has got to be larger than that. That's got to be smaller than that. We're going to look this sign, which is my denominator. So I've got to compare 2/3. I'm going to find 2/3 on here. Where will my 2/3 be? Which will be here. And I've got to make it go to the nearest quarter, but it's got to be it's not the really nearest quarter, is it? What is it going to be? It's got to be greater than. So let's have a look. Is it going to be greater than? Which one would be greater than? Well, I can't go here because it would be less than, wouldn't it? So I can go 1, 2. I can go to this one, which would be, and you get it, 3/4. I could actually have another one as well. Which one could it be? Still got to keep my denominator as 4. But if I went all the way to here, it's still going to be greater than the third. It's much greater, but it's the whole distance, because we know that 4/4 is the same as 1. So I've done the whole distance, but we can write it as a fraction. Let's have another one. It looks like here. We can see the third here and the quarter there. So that helps us. So let's have a look. I think 1/4 is greater than 1/3 because 4 is greater than 3. Well, she's right. 4 is greater than 3. But remember, we're looking at fractions and not whole numbers. These are fractions, so we can see where here he has used the fraction rule to compare. So he's compared, and you can see that a third is bigger than a quarter. So we can use the fraction rule to compare thirds and quarters. So we know that 1/4 is less than a third. So Bella was correct, wasn't she? The bottom turtle has not crawled as far as the top turtle. Let's look at this again, just to make sure we really understand it. So the fraction rule has got my denominator, and this is in my quarters, and this is in my thirds. We can see that 2/3 is less than 3/4, because 3/4 is here, and this is my 2/3. And we can see that 2/3 here, again, is going to be smaller than my 4/4, which would be the whole thing shaded. Let's look at this one then. Now, is 1/5 greater than or less than 1/6? Let's have a look. Fraction rule again to help me. 1/5, 1/6. So is 1/5 greater than or less than 1/6? What do you think it is? See if you got it right. 1/5. Can we see why 1/5 is larger? I know the numbers are smaller. 5 is smaller than 6, but remember, it's how we partition it. We're only making it into 5 parts. The other one we make it into 6 parts, so they're going to be smaller. Let's look at the next one, where they've used a number line to help. Is half greater than or less than 3/4? So this is my number line, which is put into half, so half is there. This has been put into quarters, so let's just have a look. We've got 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and the whole way would be 4/4, which is 1. So is half greater or less than 3/4? So we've got 3/4 here, we've got half there. So is it? No, it's less than, isn't it? It's less than, because the 3/4 is larger than that. That takes more room. It's larger. Now let's look at this. This is a fraction rule's quite heavy in your face, isn't it? There's a lot there, and that's because we started with 1 and it's gone all the way to 12. Can we see? So there's quite a lot, and I know you've got this in the book. Yours isn't coloured in, so it does make it a little bit harder to see, but do look at it, because it does help you. We're going to use the more than, the greater than, or the less than, or equal to make the statements true. So here we've got a third and a 9th. Some of you might be just using your multiplications to work this out and to know straight away, or to know where the partition is. But let's have a look in thirds. Where's my thirds? There's my third and my 9th. My 9th is here, my third. So we can see straight away that 1/3 is bigger than 9, because it's been put into 3 sections and not 9 sections. Next one gets a bit tricky, because my numerator are not the same. So my numerator is 1 part of 8 there, 1/8, and it's 2/9. But I'm definitely going to use my fraction rule here. So let's have a look at my 8th, which is there, and to look at my 2/9s, which are there. So we can see straight away that 1/8 is smaller than my 2/9s. We can see that sign there. What about this one? This one's even trickier. This one I'm looking at 3/4, 3/4, so my quarters are here. I'm going all the way there. And because my 12s is right down there, I'm going to put a bigger line there to help me now. So my 3/4 gone all the way to my 12s. Now I've got to find out where my 7/12ths are. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 12s. So I can see now that 3/4, can we see, is more than this distance. Is bigger than, is greater than. We see how that fraction rule really helps me to work out the answers. Let's look at number 3 then. It says use the fraction rule to help you complete the statement. So my statement is here, which is my inequality statement. And if you can see, I've got there that this is going to be more than this. This is going to be more than that. So they're all then greater than, aren't they? They're all going to be greater than the next one. Look at this. Which one is going to go here then? Have a go. Have you written them down or shouted them out? You will see what we've got then. 1/8 is larger than 1/10. 1/10 is larger than 1/12. Did you get it right? Yeah, those denominators are really quite tricky, aren't they? When you see them go up, you think they should be larger numbers, but remember they're not. How do the bars help you to explain? Let's have a look how they help me to explain. Well, I know that this bar in my 8s has been fractioned equally into 8 parts. So it's only had 8 parts to fraction. My 10ths has had more parts to fraction, so it's going to be smaller amount. And my 12's even smaller because it's been actually fractioned equally into 12 parts. So I think that bar helps you to explain how to do it. Let's look at the reflect today. Okay, says that 2/3 is less than 2/5 because 3 is less than 5. Which is right, 3 is less than 5. But remember, this is fractions. We're looking at this as fractions. My numerator is the same amount. They're both 2 parts. This is 2 parts of your thirds. This is 2 parts of your fifths. So, is he right? What would you tell Akai to explain how to compare fractions? So think about your fraction wars. And I think the best way to do this is for you to say it out loud first and then write it down. It's always best to do it that way because sometimes you can start writing and then you think, well, I forgot now, I forgot what I was going to say. So say it out loud as if you was explaining to someone next door to you and then write it down. So your work today is on page 15. Don't forget your reflect. And let's have a look. If you are doing the higher challenge, remember you're only doing this if you find the work relatively easy. So let's have a look. It's saying that 7/10 is greater than 4/5 because 7 is greater than 4 and 10 is greater than 5. So I think this person is looking at the numbers as numbers and not as fractions. So for your job is to explain your answer. What numbers could go in the missing boxes? Don't forget, you can use your fraction rule. Right. See you tomorrow. Bye.